You found the Backup Wrap Up, your go to podcast for all things backup, recovery, and cyber recovery. In this episode, we're going to talk about the cybersecurity concept of a Honeypot server through the lens of Mr. Robot episode or season 1, episodes 7 and 8. We'll look at what makes one so effective, how it can catch external hackers as well as insider threats, why the key to success is that nobody knows that it exists. We also talk about proper log storage and why that's crucial for forensic analysis. That's going to be important if the bad guys actually come knocking. By the way, if you don't know who I am, I'm W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup, and I've been passionate about backup and recovery for over 30 years, ever since I had to tell my boss that there were no backups of the production database that we just lost. I don't want that to happen to you, and that's why I do this. On this podcast, we turn unappreciated admins into cyber recovery heroes. This is the Backup Wrap Up. Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm W. Curtis Preston, aka Mr. Backup, and I have with me a guy who probably should just be taking me to the hospital instead of talking to me on a podcast recording. Prasanna Malayanti. How's it going, Prasanna?
I'm good, Curtis, and I would love to take you to the hospital, but unfortunately, by the time I get down there, I don't think it would help your cause. So,
I would be expired.
Well, hopefully not, but hopefully you'll just be better. How about that?
Yeah, so hopefully this is short-term, short-lived.
Do you want to tell the listeners what you did? Because you know what? It's actually been a while since you've had an injury. Knock on wood. But
does this count as an injury?
Self-inflicted, I think, does count.
So, all right. So I have this product, called Puro Cleanse.
By the way, for those of you who watch us on YouTube, thank you. Yeah. For those who are not aware, you can watch our wonderful faces on YouTube.
Same name. So I'm holding up a cup that looks like it's full of pee. It is not full of pee. So it's a product used for like cleansing like a room.
Yeah.
Right. Especially of smells. Right. And
it's like an industrial disinfectant, basically.
It's like an industrial, but from an air perspective. Yeah. So you drop a tablet. Let me see here. Oh, this is the way it comes. You get this you get this tablet, right?
Yeah.
And you fill water up to the red line,
and then you drop the tablet in.
Drop the tablet in, and then you leave the room. And it smells kind of like chlorine, but like really strong chlorine. And then once that's done,
and I think the key is leave the room.
Yeah, leave the room. Wow, definitely still some. So I did that. I did all the stuff, right? And then I went in and I took it out, and then I was showing it to my cleaning person, and I was showing it to her, and then I was like, "It smells kind of like chlorine," and I like popped the lid off and took a whiff. My nose was like literally this close, and I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm still not convinced that I shouldn't be in the hospital. My lungs, my airways closed
restricted.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's probably move. Like, you dummy, you're not supposed to be sniffing that stuff. Let's try to protect you.
Yeah. You're right. You're probably right. It was probably and basically it was like I sniffed fire into my air pipe, into my airways.
Yeah.
It burned like a lot, and it's still, and then like immediately, my nose started running and I couldn't breathe. And I thought I was going to pass out, but luckily I did not. And it's now an hour later and I'm still
feeling it.
I'm still feeling it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, if you do need to take a break during the podcast and go seek medical attention, I think our listeners would totally understand.
I think, just Good times. Good
Yeah.
times. So don't do that. I like the product. I like the product a lot, but don't breathe it afterwards. Not something that's meant to be an industrial strength, like cleanse five. It's supposed to cleanse 500 square feet,
Yeah.
and then I just sniffed it like a maroon.
Oh, Curtis, what are we going to do with you?
Nothing. It's just hopeless sometimes. Sometimes I just ask myself, you know, but
But it has been a while though since you've injured
since
yourself. I
I've
might.
done something really stupid, yeah. Well,
Nope.
since I,
Well,
yeah.
no, no, no. Actually, no. It's probably been 4 months.
What was the last thing? What are you thinking of?
Remember when you were disinfecting a different room in your house
Oh,
and you decided to walk in while said product was
yeah.
also
I
being
was
used?
That was an ozone machine, and for those of you that aren't familiar, so ozone is like O2, right? I think it's like two
Yeah.
oxygen molecules, and I have again an industrial strength ozone machine, and when you have an ozone machine, you're not supposed to be in there. And I went in because like I was just sorting out the timing part, and I went in there, and I was only in there maybe 30 seconds, and same thing like this. Like I had to go sit down for a while because I couldn't breathe. Like my airway constricted.
So I think maybe for future reference,
Yeah.
if something seems potentially dangerous, don't sniff it, don't breathe it.
Well, I I held my breath when I went in the room. Right. I was just in
Yeah.
there to sort out the timer. I held my breath when I went in, but I was just in just a little bit too long, and so I ended up having to inhale, and I inhaled, and it was not good. Just saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So for those listeners, if Curtis sounds a little under the weather, that is why. We wish him all a speedy recovery and hope he comes back to his normal self soon.
Yeah. So this will be an interesting episode. We're gonna take two episodes. One episode of Mr. Robot in our continued series. Spoiler alert: we're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff in our continued series on stuff that we can pick up from Mr. Robot. And the first episode, which is episode 1.6,
6. Yeah.
right? And then second episode 1.7. 1.6 didn't have a whole lot in it from a cybersecurity perspective. It did have a whole lot in it from a crime perspective, but not from a cyber crime perspective so much. You wanna summarize 1.6, or you want me to do it?
I'll let you go ahead and do it. I
Okay,
think,
right.
yeah, it was
So this
like you
is
said, it was all like backstory, which is important
yeah.
for the story, but not so much from a tech perspective.
Yeah, so you may remember from the last episode, it ended with Shayla's death. So Elliot's neighbor friend ended with her death. This episode opens with like a flashback of when he first met her, and the and then we also see that Angela makes a deal with Terry Colby, the former CTO of Evil Corp, that she will testify that she broke the chain of custody with this DAT file. And why does that matter? It's because it renders it inadmissible in court, right?
And that's like
Sh
that's like their smoking gun to say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
he
exactly.
he did the
And so
crime.
she's gonna say that she broke chain of custody, which will then essentially let him off the hook. But in uh he's going to in what would you call that? What would you call that? In exchange
Yeah.
for him saying that he was there when they decided to poison,
Yeah.
her family, essentially, right? Um, then we start to see the beginnings of this meetings with this mysterious individual known as White Rose, the leader of the
Yeah.
Dark Army, right? We've
And I think in 1.6, we don't actually know who White Rose is. Like they've
no,
kind of talked about it before. It's like the person who leads a dark army, but like we have no idea who this person is, and they just want to set up a meeting. And do you want to talk about why they want to set up a meeting?
Well, this is because they want to be able to attack all of the different Steel Mountain um, data centers all at one time, and they need the Dark Army to be able to do that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we get this confession from Elliot to his therapist that, like, he's hacked everything, and he's actually quite open with her, but in the process of opening with her, he scares the crap out of her.
Like, what would you do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he basically says, I hacked you. I know everything about you. I know
Yeah.
you don't take your medicines. I know all these things about you.
Yeah, I know your
Deepest secrets.
yeah, your deepest secrets. Yeah, and then Tyrell does a little thing.
Yeah. So Tyrell, if you remember from the last episode, he and his wife had gone and had dinner with Scott and Sharon, and there's sort of that entire scene in the bathroom and all the
Yeah.
rest of that. And
Yeah.
now it's actually where Scott gets officially announced as a CTO, and they throw a shindig at the office. And once again, Tyrell is like, "Hey, I'm going to go meet up with Sharon." He's like, "Come up to the rooftop. I know what you want." And she shows up, and yeah, and then he basically kills her on the
Yeah,
rooftop.
he just strangles her. That was a sort of an unexpected. You think they're about to,
Yeah.
bounce wow wow, and then next thing you know, it's and
Yeah.
that was not good.
Yeah.
So if we forward to the next episode, which is 1.7, aka White Rose. So you see Darlene stealing a gun, right? Because she's very worried about the fact that they're going to meet White Rose, and she's scared of whoever White Rose is. And then we learn from Gideon visits Tyrell
Mhm.
and sort of says, "Hey, this is all the stuff that we've been doing on your behalf." And he mentions that there actually is a honeypot. We're going to talk about that. That's sort of, I think, they're going to be the key thing we're going to talk about in this episode. But uh, and nobody nobody but Gideon seems to want this honeypot to exist. And then we find out, obviously there's this whole thing about sort of the subplot is Tyrell freaking out about the fact that people are looking into Sharon's murder. His wife finds out about Sharon's murder, but then we get the whole big reveal about Mr. Robot. So there's been a lot of, up to this point, there's been a lot of people theorizing that Mr. Robot was all in his head. And I'm still a little confused because Mr. Robot is his father, and he's not old enough to be his father, so that means he's got to be in his head. But that doesn't make any sense because we also have the scene of him meeting with Tyrell.
Tyrell, and also he's talking to Darlene and all sorts of other things
He's
as
not
well.
old enough to be his father, right?
Well, I think he's old enough to be his father at the point, because Elliot goes back right in this episode, and because towards the end, right, he goes and tries to kiss Darlene,
Right.
and
Oh yeah.
Darlene,
Oh, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
and Darlene is like, Elliot, do you not know who I am? And
Yeah.
he's like, you're Darlene, and she's like,
Yeah.
no, who am I? And then he's like, oh, you're my sister.
You're
And
Princess Leia.
yeah, and then he and then he freaks out because he's like, what all am I forgetting? And so if folks remember, he like would compromise someone, then delete all the data, but before he did, he would burn it on a CD and keep the CD and name it with like different bands and things like that. And
Yeah.
he goes back and looks, and he finds a CD that's not labeled, and he looks at it and he realizes it's his. And then he
Yeah.
starts looking at the pictures, and he sees like a picture of Mr. Robot, right?
Yeah.
And he sees pictures of his sister, Darlene, and all the rest. And then he starts putting together. And then he's like, what is going on? And that's when the episode ends with Mr. Robot pounding on the door and saying, we need to talk.
We need to talk. It does. I'm still confused, and that's because, like, he's basically the same age
As the pictures.
as the pictures. So
Yeah.
I'm very, because I'm all confused. But remind me, who is Krista?
Krista is the psychologist or
Oh, right,
psychiatrist.
right, right. Okay. Okay. All right.
So yeah, and there's also so one thing we didn't touch upon, and maybe we'll talk about it, maybe in a different episode, maybe in this episode, right? Is one of the scenes is Cisco, who's the person who works for the Dark Army, right? Who had
Yeah.
given Ollie the CD. He
Right.
approaches Ollie and was like, "Hey, I need you to do this for me."
Yeah.
Right? And then there's this entire scene where Ollie is basically in the middle of this attack that happens on Allsafe,
Right.
right? He goes up to Elliot and is like, "Hey, I need you to go drop these hard drives off at this place
Yeah.
and
And it
recovery
was
center."
all set up to, yeah.
Yeah, it was all a setup, and that is where he meets White Rose.
Yeah. It's, what's funny is I knew BD Wong was in this episode because it was in the thing. And
Yeah,
if it hadn't been for that, I'm not sure I would have recognized BD Wong, but because he's playing a trans woman
yeah,
essentially in the episode. And I'm not sure I would have
yeah.
recognized him, but um, so yeah, so we're going to come back to that. I
Yeah,
think we're going to do a separate episode on that
yeah.
aspect, but today I wanted to talk about this idea of a honeypot, which is a really cool idea that you can use and is frequently used in cybersecurity. And I first learned about the concept of a honeypot when reading a cuckoo's egg.
Yep,
You read a cuckoo's egg,
yep. I
right?
did.
And you want to do a quick summary of a cuckoo's egg for
Yeah,
those who haven't read it?
A Cuckoo's Egg is a nonfiction recount of Cliff Stoller, I think.
Cliff Stoll, yeah,
Oh, Cliff Stoll, who used to be employed at UC Berkeley,
right,
and he was managing computer infrastructure. And he once noticed that a mainframe, like the timing would be off on a mainframe. And he was like, "Who's using the resource?" This is way back in the day when you shared CPUs and all the other things, and you
yeah.
paid for the cost.
It was like a 3 second difference between
Yeah,
the two different time,
yeah. And
accounting
so
systems.
he basically was trying to understand where this was, what was going on, and he unravels this like giant espionage plot of like I think it was hackers in Russia using resources and like
Yeah,
mainframe use resources and
yeah,
accessing
and
Pentagon networks in the U.S.
and it was early days of cyber hacking, and so like he went to the FBI, and the FBI is like, I don't understand. Did they
Yeah,
steal anything?
and
He's
this
like,
is
no, but they're in our network,
yeah, and this is before like the normal internet as we think of it today, right? This
Right,
was
right.
DARPA back in the day and the connectivity between like research institutes and the Pentagon and other things. Like it wasn't as widely open as it is today.
Right, right, right.
So it's a great
Um,
read, but people should go take a look at it.
where did the term Faraday cage come up in there?
Faraday Cage came up when he was going in to meet White Rose.
Oh, the whole room's a Faraday
Yeah,
cage. Okay, and then there's just this one little thing in there. There's this a steganography software
yeah,
that Elliot uses to encrypt or to decrypt some information that he had in his wallet. There's this thing called Deep Sound, which used to encrypt stuff inside of music, which is kind of interesting way. Back to Cliff Stoll, in the middle of that story, he does set up a honeypot. And so you want to just sort of give the basic concept of what a honeypot is?
yeah. Basically, a honeypot is you create something that's so enticing for the attackers that they will then focus on that instead of everything else. And then this thing that you've created, you're monitoring, you're making it obvious, and you're able to detect when someone is attacking, so you know that someone's in your network.
Yeah, because the one really key thing of a honeypot, at least a proper honeypot, I'd say a couple of things in there, right? One is we don't want to put anything in there that's actually valuable,
Yeah.
right? Because the whole point is to entice the hackers uh, into that thing. And then the other thing is that it needs to not that no one needs to ever log into the honeypot for any valid business reason.
Yeah.
And why would that be?
Because then it might be used for legit traffic, and you want to basically know when someone's actually hit it, and nothing else should have hit it except a malicious person.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got this server that looks very interesting. A server with the name like "Here's where all our important stuff is," right? Um, uh, like priority one documents. So we name it like R11 herbs and spices, um, corporate financial stuff. Um, you know, um, I'm harkening back to being in a. I was at a. It was a vendor actually in my area, so it was up in the Irvine area, and it was a vendor that I was working with, and I just asked for a conference room to like make a phone call, and I went in the conference room, and while I'm in this conference room, I look up at the whiteboard, and all the corporate secrets were on the whiteboard, and it was like no one should see this. Literally, they wrote, no one needs to know this. It was something I was just like, I don't think I'm supposed to be in here.
You didn't take us a
Um,
picture?
what? I did not take a picture. For the record, this was before
Camera?
every phone had a camera on it. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so you I guess you wouldn't want to make it super obvious, but you want to basically include it in whatever naming convention that you typically have. And how would they find it then? Right?
Well, this is where they're doing like network discovery. And right, if a attacker gets into a network, they're probably going to look and say, okay, what other systems can we try to compromise? And they will
Right.
scan the network and say, okay, here's a system. Okay, are there any ports open? Are there any, what operating system is it? Can I actually get into it? Because maybe it'll allow me to escalate privileges. Maybe that system has access to other resources, all the rest of
Yeah. Yeah. So during the reconnaissance phase, right, they identify this potential resource, and then they get in it. And what you could also do is you could include maybe some common exploits,
it. Yeah.
right? Do you remember what my favorite exploit is, or my least favorite exploit, depending on how you look at it?
No.
The ransomware deployment protocol,
Oh, RDP.
right? So you leave RDP on, you leave the administrative share on in Windows, right? You allow some well-known exploit to be there, right? So you basically it's like you have this building that's like that's flashing red sign, really important stuff,
Mhm.
and then you unlock all the doors,
Yeah.
right? So you leave RDP open, you leave. You don't have to do all these things, but you could do one or more of these things where you leave RDP open. You have a common exploit. There's two times when you might want to have a honeypot. One is just a honeypot all the time.
Yep.
That's a server that's just there, just 24/7, that no one should ever access. And if they do access, it sets off the klaxon alerts, right?
Yep.
And then the other would be if you believe you have been infiltrated,
Hmm.
but you don't. I mean, it takes a lot of chutzpah to do this second one, right? Where you believe that someone's in your network, but you're not going to cut them off. You want to see what they're up to.
Yeah.
So you could actually sort of turn on this honeypot.
And
And the reason why I was bringing that up is if you know that they have a compromised account, they have access to a particular account, you would want to make sure that that account is available in that server.
yeah, the one other thing I was going to mention a honeypot, which you haven't mentioned yet, is you might also run a honeypot just to look for insider threats as well,
Really? Yeah, it's a really good
right?
point. Right? Yeah.
Because maybe Curtis, you should not have access to the financial data, and why are you going and accessing a random financial share?
Right, right. Yeah, that'd be a really great way to find. And and I will say this again. I'm gonna think about another one of my favorite TV shows. I am the
Alias,
danger. No, no, I am the danger.
I got nothing.
I am the one who knocks. Nothing.
Nothing.
Um, Breaking Bad.
Oh,
So the whole thing with the reason why he was so one of the reasons why he was so successful is the concept of hiding in plain sight,
mm-hmm.
right? Once that veneer was off, it took 5 minutes to figure out
Yeah.
to prove that he was who he was. What was it? What was his thing? What was his name?
The German,
Heisenberg.
the Heisenberg.
Once the whole the book on the toilet
Yeah.
thing, once that came out, hiding in sight only works if no one is looking,
Yep.
right? And so, like for example, Marty Bird in Ozark, he was not hiding in plain sight. Everybody knew he was up to. The genius of that was that
Yeah.
the FBI is looking directly at him, and he manages to not get caught. What's relevant in this case? A honeypot only works if nobody knows it's there.
Yep.
And so when we have this in the episode, Tyrell finds out that the honeypot, and what so it's
Gideon
kind of
tells
funny.
him.
Yeah, Gideon tells him that there's a honeypot, and it's like, why did you tell? I mean, I guess Gideon,
He didn't
Gideon's
want to
a
lose a business. He didn't want to lose a business, right? He
oh,
was
that's
afraid.
right. He wanted him to know about all of the different stuff that they
Yeah.
were doing
Well,
to make sure.
because he also had to tell him about Angela and the DAT file and Terry Colby, right?
Right. Yeah. 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 So bad news, good news.
Yep.
Right. So he's like, I want you to know about all the things we're doing to try to find the bad guy. Right. And what I don't yet remember is why, what was Tyrell doing with the honeypot?
So he wanted to go because he realized that. So here's the thing: is I don't think they quite got Honeypot correct, right?
Okay.
Because I think what they were referring to is they knew that, or they Gideon suspected that that server was still compromised,
Right.
and so he set up monitoring on that server rather than creating a new instance. So it's
Uh-huh.
still essentially a honeypot because he's monitoring it. He's like firewalled it off from everything else, so no one else can
Right.
get to it or anything
Yeah,
else.
he makes a point of saying that they think they're on the network or on
Yeah,
the main network, but they're actually not.
yeah,
Yeah, they fired a while it off. Yeah.
yeah. Right, and so then Tyrell wants to go and look and say, okay, what have they compromised? Right, which is when he starts digging in, and that's when you're like, oh, we don't know what's going on, and he has to leave because of the murder investigation.
Yeah.
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 It's also interesting though, because even though he said, yes, I fired it off from the main network, Tyrell from his desktop PC was able to SSH into it and connect into it.
La la la. Show
Uh,
is great. I don't want to hear
yeah.
any facts. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which
It's the
may be
face over
possible
there.
if it's all like VLAN off and it only allows inbound connections into that honeypot, right? So,
Sure.
but
We'll yeah. Um,
I'm being nitpicky as a
yeah,
pseudo
it's
technical
okay.
person.
It's okay. It's a pseudo. But in terms of so I would just say that if you haven't thought of the idea of having a honeypot server or multiple honeypot servers, again, you want to leave it with some common exploits. You want to leave it available. You want to make it look like it has some interesting stuff. And again, there's all these TV references that keep coming up in my head when I think about this, and a lot of them have to do actually with Alias, the TV show Alias. There were a lot of systems in there. There were a lot of episodes there where they would want to make the bad actor
It's almost like bait.
believe that they they want the bad actor to believe they got something great when in
Yeah.
reality they gave them garbage data,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so, but that is the point. Again, it only works if they don't know it's there.
Yeah.
It only works if they're able to get in, right? And again, if there's anything sniffing at those ports, it's a bad actor, right? And so then you can do some forensic analysis, and you can figure out where that person is coming from, and perhaps that will then allow you to shut off that person.
Or the other thing is maybe it'll help you understand what are they looking for,
Right, right.
right? Because that's almost as important. Actually, that's probably more important than just shutting them out, right?
Agreed, agreed. And because when I've talked with Mike a lot, right?
Mike
My
Saylor, Dr. Mike.
Mike Saylor, my fellow co-author. That's redundant.
Yes.
My co-author for my upcoming book, Learning Ransomware Response and Recovery, which, by the way, I just found out today is actually already on Amazon.
Woohoo!
You can pre-order it on Amazon.
Nice.
I was like, well, I should probably finish we're in we finished tech review. The tech reviewers gave it overwhelmingly positive reviews. If you change this, change that, emphasize this, de-emphasize that. One of the things was that we did was we reduced. There was a history section, like the history of ransomware, and they're like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about the history. It was just, I think the only point of the history was to say, this has actually been going on for a long time, all the way back since the 80s. The first,
So like it should be like one page rather than like an entire chapter.
it was like 5 pages.
Yeah.
So the one page, or the first known, the first malware that's considered to be ransomware was actually called the AIDS Trojan back in the 80s. Anyway, so go back to Mike. One of the things that Mike talks a lot about is once you've stopped the the attack, or while it's going on, but generally once you've stopped the attack, now's the time to do forensic analysis to figure out, how did the attack happen? How did they get in? And the honeypot system would be a prime way to do that, right? Because if it's a good enough honeypot, perhaps there's many honeypots.
Yeah.
You're going to see them logging in, and you're going to say, oh, they logged in from this system. Then you can go look at that system, and you can see where that system, and you can follow the trail.
It's like you're building a timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then the other key to that is that log storage, right? As much as you can, set up log storage systems so that logs don't get just randomly deleted by the threat actor.
And preferably don't log locally.
That's kind of what I'm saying, right? Set up a system by which these important logs are stored remotely and immutably.
Yes, I was going to say protect that log system just like you would protect your backup system.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great use for an object storage system with immutability turned on, right?
Yeah.
Just as the logs are, created, ship them off to the, this other storage system, because it is very common. I was just, I just got to the part of the book where we were talking about how that, intrusion detection systems and EDR systems and all these things, they're really only great at stopping the initial attack. Once someone has access, one of the first things they do is shut those off.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, there was just an article earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, talking about how a lot of these malware operators now either have custom tools or off-the-shelf tools to actually disable EDR.
Yeah. And so, and another thing they're going to do is to basically wipe the logs that will show their trail.
Yeah.
And so the key to that is to store that stuff.
Yeah. Which is exactly what Elliot did during the hack, right? When he.
Yeah, he did exactly that.
Yeah.
Can you think of any additional thoughts on the idea of a honeypot?
Uh, Not so much on the honeypot. No, I think that was it. The one thing I did want to bring up, not around the honeypot, but just to quickly cover, is um, also like Darlene was trying to set up this meeting with White Rose, right? And so she
Yeah.
kept pushing the Dark Army. And do you remember what she did to Cisco?
No.
So Cisco is the guy, her contact at the Dark Army. She
Yeah.
basically hacked his system, impersonated him on their IRC chat channels, and basically is the way that she uh,
Oh,
got
right,
in
right, right,
contact to be able to get a meeting on the books with White Rose. And
right,
he was like,
right.
"Don't talk to me. We're done after this. I can't believe you hacked me." So
Yeah.
there's no honor amongst thieves, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, that was, when you're dealing with these people like this or this good at like getting into your systems, kind of all bets are off, I think.
He could have benefited from a honeypot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, um, just thinking about, um, it's funny. I got, what was her name again? What's her name?
Darlene,
Darlene.
Angela.
Yeah. My wife and I got Darlene this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we got this text message from my daughter that said, "Hey, when do you guys have time on Sunday to do stuff for Lily's birthday?"
Oh, yeah,
Right?
you were mentioning, yeah.
Yeah. And so, we worked it out, and we were working it out. I want to make sure my other daughter's there, and so I called my daughter, and I was like, "Hey, so, da da da, we're trying to work this out." And she's like, "I work on Sunday. Like, I work Sunday evening." She works nights. She's like, "I work Sunday evening." And I'm like, "Well, you're the one that sent the text." And she's like, "No, I was not. I was asleep. Lily took my phone and sent the message as me. When do you guys want to come over for Lily's birthday?"
Oh my gosh.
That girl. So in 4 hours, we'll be having dinner with Lily, as orchestrated by Marissa.
That is hilarious.
My granddaughter, the hacker. She got access to her cell phone. She must know her PIN too.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully you found some you found some useful information here in our discussion on honeypots. We're going to continue talking about this episode in our next week. And I think that'll be good as well.
Yeah. Dun dun dun. Wait to hear us talk about persistent access.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, Prasanna, for having another chat.
I hope your breathing gets better, Curtis. But you do sound a lot better than when we first started. So
I don't feel any better. Literally, I feel like I inhaled chlorine. Like it's just not.
maybe you should. Do you still have your scuba tanks with oxygen?
Those aren't oxygen. They're just air.
Okay, air.
You don't put oxygen in your
Air.
Don't stay in your lane, buddy. And with that, thanks, folks, for listening. That is a wrap. The Backup Wrap-Up is written, recorded, and produced by me, W. Curtis Preston. If you need backup or DR consulting, content generation, or expert witness work, check out backupcentral.com. You can also find links for my O'Reilly books on the same website. Remember, this is an independent podcast, and any opinions that you hear are those of the speaker and not necessarily an employer. Thanks for listening.